So the first is around consultancy services. So last year, I think you spent just shy of £20 million on external consultancy services, which was a significant increase on the previous year. I just wondered what your take was on whether the department has the right skills internally to deliver your various programmes.
I'll bring Catherine in 1 second for a bit more detail. I mean, the point I would make is it is a very small proportion of our total staffing costs of 3.9 billion. And the way we bring in consultants and temporary staff is to fill specialist skills gaps that we can't fill or where there's an immediate need to build capacity. And we're always looking to build our capacity in-house to grow our own skilled workforce and to fill temporary staff roles and consultancy staff roles with permanent staff whenever we can. But Catherine's been leading a lot of work on that. So do you want to say more?
Thank you. So I think that spend figure on consultancy includes both the core department and our arm's length bodies. For the core department, the spend did increase in 23-24, but from quite a low base, and in total, I think is 0.1% of our total expenditure. Part of that increase, and we will continue to see an increase in this area, is the expenditure we're incurring on behalf of 4 government departments as part of the Synergy programme to implement our new ERP systems. And so that we are incurring on behalf of Home Office, DEFRA and Ministry of Justice, but all of those costs come through DWP's annual report and accounts, and that's the biggest reason for the explanation for the increase in the core spend.
My question wasn't necessarily a critique, it was just to understand the model that you're pursuing, whether you were wanting to have those internal expertise within the department or you were using a co-source arrangement using experts outside, which may be the right course of action if you want to do that.
So there are times at which bringing in consultancy support is incredibly valuable when we have one-off complex projects where we wouldn't normally expect to have a permanent resource. And then we will also bring in temporary resource, so contingent labour as well. At times where we do have skills shortages in particular areas, 90% of our contingent labour resources in digital skills, and I think the government last week did set out in the State of Digital Government review some of the challenges that we face in terms of digital skills. The department does have a really good track record of recruiting people into our digital services. So we did actually include some information on this in our annual report and accounts last year. So our digital recruitment hires increased by 26% last year, and we built some fantastic partnerships with universities, with the British Computer Society, with Women in Data. So it is a difficult environment to recruit digital skills into government, but I think we're doing some excellent work to make it attractive to join DWP.
And in terms of fixed-term contracts, I note that in 2021 there was 22%, I think, was the figure that I've got here. It's gone right down to single-figure percentages now in terms of your fixed-term contracts and those on permanent contracts.
Yes.
Does that still give the department the sufficient agility to adapt and be agile to the need of projects or various initiatives?
Yeah, so those fixed-term contracts, I think there was a significant increase in the use of the fixed-term contracts during COVID when we needed to bring in temporary short-term resource very quickly. The department then converted quite a lot of those fixed-term contracts into permanent resources, and that's part of the explanation for the shift. And we will always review our model about whether we bring in people permanently or on shorter-term contracts, depending on what we think the needs are going to be at any one time. But it is an important part of the blend of resources that we choose to bring into the department.
Okay. Yeah, we doubled the number of work coaches during the pandemic, and many of those folk were brought in on fixed-term contracts. The other really important dimension I bring in, since I've been permanent secretary, one of the things we've done is we've in-sourced quite a lot of capability that was previously outsourced to give us more control. So on digital, we outsource so much of the delivery of our digital services to outsource suppliers. We brought that in-house, so we've got more control. The same is true on estates, where up until 2018 we had a PFI contract, which meant that we had no real oversight onto the state of our assets. Since 2018 we brought that in-house. We built our own in-house estates team. It's given us the opportunity to regularly assess the condition of our estate and to be on top of that. and life cycle investment, and enable us also to think about a state that we want to divest of because it's of the wrong quality for what we need going forward. So it's just an example of how we use insourcing.
Turning to the major programmes, we've seen uncertainty about expected costs and benefits of a number of your major programmes. Are you satisfied they're going to be delivering the value for money that they should be?
Yes, I mean, they're all in a different position. So universal credit is well in advance. We're in the final phase. Final weeks. And I mean, this committee and the PAC have regularly reviewed progress on universal credit, costs and benefits. We can get into more detail in terms of the assessment of the economic benefits, if you like, but that's an area where we've been talking. We think there have been very significant benefits from an economic point of view, and the administrative savings are absolutely huge coming out of that. So that is kind of overachieved in many ways. The other programs are at different phases of development. You've got the health transformation program that I talked about before, where they've made good progress, particularly the year just gone where they signed contracts for the new provision of the functional assessment service. That was a big moment for them. Could go into more detail on that if you like.
So some of the programs I'm interested in are the service modernisation program, which is an 11-year program, the workplace transformation program, which is a 10-year program. I mean, to me, coming from the private sector, that just seems a massive time frame for those types of programs when you have FTSE 100 companies, large banks doing massive transformation programs in probably half that time. I just wonder what your take was in terms of delivering the benefits of those programs, because clearly 10 and 11 years is a long time.
Yeah, but you have to look at the scale of what we're doing, where we start from in terms of, in many cases, legacy benefits. In some cases, such as universal credit, the start of the programme involved legislation and policy design. And then you've got, at the end of the process, you're moving many, many hundreds of thousands of customers across, often from one system to another. So, for example, universal credit would be an example of how long this process takes. It started in 2011. We're due to finish in 2026, but by which point we'll have gone from 6 benefits into 1. We'll have changed the nature of the financial incentives through the system to give a financial incentive to work at every stage in the earnings stage. And we'll have ended up moving something like 8 million people from one set of benefits to another in a way which avoids anyone falling between the cracks. And the difference between us and many, I'm not going to speak for every commercial entity, but for many commercial entities, we are the safety net. We're there for people. What I cannot do is rush something through with the risk that someone misses out on benefits because we lose them in the process. So, for example, as part of the reform of the state pension at the moment, we're moving 12 million people from an old legacy system that was built in the 1980s into the Get Your State Pension system that we talked about earlier in the hearing. I could just rush it. I could just say, well, just overnight move everyone over. But I don't want to do that. I want to do this carefully, trying it step by step to make sure I don't make any mistakes.
I think the one programme, just finally, Chair, is the Synergy programme. Obviously, that the public finances are in a very challenging state, and clearly identifying those synergies and working with the other departments to deliver more immediate reforms and changes. I think that should be a real priority. Could you elaborate further on that and when we'll start to see the benefits of those? That
absolutely. So that's, for colleagues who don't know, that's a process where we're working jointly with 3 other government departments, 3 other big government departments, the Home Office, Ministry of Justice and DEFRA. And this is putting in place back office services to run our payroll, our HR systems, our financial reporting systems, our procurement systems, bring them all together. And there's a lot that goes on to that. It is in part a technology programme, so we've just procured together, we've been through the business case approval in August. We've just procured together a technology partner also in August. And we're now at the process of trying to procure a provider of the shared services business support alongside that as well. We're in a process where we brought new leadership in to run the programme as of this month to take us through to the next stage. And there's a lot to be done, and it is complex. The other thing I was going to say, as well as being a technology programme, it's also a programme, picking up on your point about wider efficiencies, about trying to drive standardisation of processes. And that is really important. How do we get more interoperability between government departments so we've got more flexibility and can drive out savings? In a way, I'm the lead accounting officer for that, and in a way, that is one of the things that I think is most important but most difficult. Because you're saying to people, well, you know, report on HR in a standard way. No, we've been reporting this way forever. No, but to get the benefits, you've got to change the way you do it. Or, I mean, Catherine could talk about the finance side of things, which is equally complex. I mean, do you want to say anything about standardisation of finance? Well, I mean, we probably don't have time, but anyway, it's it's not. I mean, so what I would encourage the committee to do is you hold me to account on synergy amongst others. It's not just about these milestones in terms of programme delivery, and we're on track on that at the moment, but it's also around how are you driving get the real benefits of this from standardisation and changes in the way that we work, cutting through Whitehall silos so that we get those benefits of interoperability across all 4 departments. And that's probably the point I would draw out.